Well, tonight, the debate around redrawing the congressional districts across Indiana is intensifying.
24 hours after the GOP released their draft of the proposed map, lawmakers and other Hoosiers came together and made their opinions known, speaking out at the Indiana State House. Our State House reporter Emily Longnecker spent the day in that meeting today and now joins us live at 5 with what is being said. Emily.
Well, Ann and Felicia, the testimony lasted just over 3 hours with a couple dozen people testifying on redistricting. Now, more testified against it than for it. In fact, only 2 people testified in support of the bill and the proposed map. Those against it voiced several concerns, and one of the biggest concerns was how the proposed map divides Marion County. Under the proposal, Marion County would be split up among 4 different congressional districts. Several people who testified against redistricting said by doing that, it spreads out Marion County's African-American population and weakens their vote, making it harder to elect a candidate of their choosing to represent their interests.
The NAACP is direly concerned and condemns the racist mid-decade redistricting and any violation of the Voting Rights Act. Racial gerrymandering is a foundational step in ensuring minority voters are left without representation and disenfranchised by a system that purports to be free and fair.
Democratic Congressman Andre Carson currently represents the 7th district, which includes most of Marion County. He called the proposed map a clear violation of the Voting Rights Act. Under the Voting Rights Act, district lines cannot be drawn in a way that weakens the voting strength of racial or language minorities.
Well, these proposed districts destroy Hoosier communities and community services close to homes. Hoosiers have to travel farther and wait longer to access services they need, and they'll be even more disconnected from their member of Congress.
Over the more than 3 hours of testimony, only 2 people testified in favor of redrawing the state's congressional districts. One was a man from Allen County who also said he was with Heritage Action, a conservative advocacy organization. He called mid-decade redistricting unprecedented, but said the stakes called for unprecedented leadership to carry it out.
Indiana is a deep red state, and one need only look at the overwhelming victories of Republican statewide candidates and the makeup of this very legislature. The new congressional map under consideration reflects the state's electorate and has been and should continue to be the goal of redistricting.
Now, the bill's author, Republican State Representative Ben Smalt, said repeatedly that the only consideration that was looked at when drawing this proposed map was to give Republicans a political advantage, which the Supreme Court has already ruled is okay to do. Smalt also pointed out that the proposed map divides fewer counties and townships than the current district maps that we have now. Racial gerrymandering, just one of the concerns that came up today. The impact on the upcoming primary and general elections were other concerns that came up. And coming up tonight at 6, we'll hear from the Marion County clerk on why she's concerned about these changes. And she says, in her words, it will cause chaos for the upcoming elections. Ann, Felicia?
All right, Emily, thanks so much. As you can imagine, there are just so many questions surrounding this proposal and the impact that it will have on where people live, especially right here in the heart of Indianapolis in Marion County.
Our Jenna Webster explains where those new lines are being drawn and the challenges it could pose.
The intersection here at 38th and Emerson is where Lawrence, Warren, and Center Township meets. If this new map passes, it would also now be where the 6th, 7th, and 9th congressional districts would meet.
So take a look at what these new districts would look like. Lawrence and half of Washington Township stretches to the east to the Ohio border. Warren and half of Center join Perry and Franklin Townships in the new 6th district, all the way down to the Kentucky border. A sliver of Wayne, half of Washington, and all of Pike Township make up the 4th, bordering Illinois. An analysis by nonprofit Plan Score says all those districts give Democrats an only 1% chance of winning. The 1st district is closer to 9%. A UIndy political science professor doesn't see those races being close either.
The 7th is fascinating because Lawrence is a major part of Indianapolis, also being excluded municipality, has its own system of government, right? But that's very urban. And then you're talking about connecting that in the proposed 7th congressional district with Ohio County, which is the smallest county in Indiana, both in terms of population and geography.
I talked to one woman who lives in Lawrence Township, which would now be the 7th congressional district, and she says it doesn't necessarily make sense that her representative could potentially live near the Cincinnati area. And she wants to make sure that they really understand the issues in Marion County if they're not from here. In Indianapolis, Jenna Webster, 13 News.
Thank you, Jenna. As this redistricting battle is waging on, we're learning of another threat now against an Indiana lawmaker.
Samantha Johnson is looking into a bomb threat against a state senator in Lafayette. What happened here?
It happened just this morning at the old home of Republican State Senator Ron Alting. He serves Carroll County and parts of Tippecanoe County. But he doesn't even live at that home anymore. And when local law enforcement say they got this anonymous email that pipe bombs had been planted there, the state senator sharing a statement reading in part, quote, "This was a false threat intended to cause fear and disrupt the lives of innocent people. Regardless of the motive, it is dangerous and irresponsible, and it put families and first responders at risk." Here's Tippecanoe County Sheriff Bob Goldsmith.
We take all investigations serious. This isn't any different than any other. But it gets to a little bit of an extreme when they do what they're doing. And again, we take matters very seriously and want to bring those that are doing this to justice.
Now, thankfully, we can tell you no one was hurt this morning, but Senator Alting makes at least the 11th Republican lawmaker targeted right here in our state during this ongoing redistricting battle. Just last week up north, State Senator Mike Boachek was threatened after he vowed to vote against redistricting because President Donald Trump used a slur to describe people with intellectual disabilities. Well, Boachek has a daughter with Down syndrome, and this morning he shared this message on CNN.
Look, we're all on the same team. We're all Americans, whether you're Republican or Democrat. We want the president to do good. We want the administration to succeed, because to not would just be foolish. You don't throw water into your own boat. So hopefully we can move past this redistricting issue and get back to the business of governing not only the state of Indiana, but the country as well.
Something we will continue to watch, of course, in the weeks to come. And as for the incident in Tippecanoe County this morning, we know Indiana State Police are now investigating.
All right, Sam, thanks so much. For months now, we've been following this ongoing debate.
And we're going to keep following it on air, online, and you can check out all of our coverage on WTHR.com/redistricting for the latest.
So 5:07 on this Tuesday night. What do the roads look like? Let's take a live look outside. We want to go over to the east side. This is the current situation along I-465 near Fall Creek. What a change, Felisa, from yesterday.
Yeah, as you can tell, it looks different. Okay, the road's clear for one, and of course the traffic moving smoothly there as well on the same stretch of interstate. Angela's here. She's been tracking everything as we enter into this cold season, this freezing season, and snow season. Angela, I'd like to file a complaint.
Yeah, me too. Seems like we've had who's taking those complaints?
It's not you? Okay.
Who's in charge?
Yeah.
It seems like we've had a little bit of everything, and now we're adding to the list. Freezing fog is possible tonight. So fill us in, Angela.
Freezing fog is possible tonight. Another round of snow tomorrow night, and then frigid Friday. We could end up with 3 more mornings in a row with some school delays. We'll talk about all of that in just a second. Let's get you outside where we do have temperatures in the teens and 20s. It's been cold all day long. At least the roads are clear. We are not going to have a repeat of what we had last night or very early this morning with the snow falling. That has come to an end for now. We're at 23 in Noblesville and in downtown. We're at 19 at Morris Reservoir and 25 degrees in Bainbridge. The threat of some patchy freezing fog. We'll get just a bit of a southwesterly wind that will take over, and that changes the air mass just enough that we could have those patches of fog. And with temperatures below freezing, that could lead to some slick roads early tomorrow morning. Patchy freezing fog, low visibility, some slick roads. Be thinking about a little extra time tomorrow morning and prepare for a few delays. You can see with Future Track 13 that visibility at times nearing 0 early tomorrow morning. I'll have the rest of your Wednesday forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Angela. We'll check back in. In the meantime, remember, you can always keep up on the forecast if you go to the Live Doppler 13 weather app.
You can also use it to check out any school delays or cancellations this week. There have been a ton of them, and we're on top of it.
Tonight, Indiana State Police are trying to find the person behind a road rage shooting which put a man in the hospital. So take a look. Indiana State Police releasing these images of the damage to the SUV that was shot. This was occurring on the ramp from I-465 west to Man Road on the south side. You can see there are at least 5 bullet holes if you take a closer look. The shooting happened just before midnight last Tuesday. Investigators believe the suspect drove away in a light-colored car. If you know anything about what happened there, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers. Well, tonight we're learning how prints in the snow helped Richmond police for a second time in less than a week. The department posted a set of scooter tracks in the fresh snow this morning, and it led them to the arrest of a suspect following a stabbing. Over the weekend, a set of shoe prints in the snow led officers to a suspect, and that suspect is accused of an armed robbery. A huge donation to report tonight, and it all benefits Perry Township Schools. Lilly Endowment awarded the district a whopping $40 million grant. So the district says they have several plans for how they're going to use this money that includes closing that mathematics achievement gap and enhancing K-8 real-world career experience. So this grant is in addition to a $7.8 million grant implementation grant that came from the Lilly Endowment that was presented to Perry Township Schools just earlier this year in 2025. So lots of investment in that district.